Hey, it's Stu, and I have a book haul from Little Free Libraries. So I was able to unhaul quite a few books, and that makes me excited. And I was able to haul some too. But I'm at the phase where I'm maybe as excited about the unhauling as a haul. If you've never seen a video of mine before, the vast majority of books that I read, I unhaul with very few exceptions for maybe plan to reread, want to hang on to discuss or give to somebody else. And I do have a couple collections, Louise Erdrich being the front of mind, that I've recently decided I might not. The next Louise Erdrich books I read, I might not unhaul because I realized that I was postponing reading her books because I had some weird attachment and I didn't want to unhaul them. I could get over that as well. So all of the books you see behind me are unread books, and where that might seem, for someone who collects and keeps books, like outrageous, for me, that's so that I can have a book collection and a lot of selection. And I do consider myself a bit of a collector, but only these shelves are just temporary holding places. They're a beautiful terminal in an airport before these books lift off into another place, mostly Little Free Libraries. So I unhauled my December reads, more or less, because beginning of January are still sitting here. I want to do a 52 book club video about them. Then they'll also get dispersed into Little Free Libraries. When I go around unhauling, of course, if there's something of interest, I grab it because 'tis the spirit of the Little Free Libraries. So that kind of leads me off with this book. This was found, like, I pencil in the front of books. I used to pen in because I thought, well, they're going to Little Free Libraries, and like the writing of where I got it could be interesting. Now I pencil it in all books that I haul from anywhere where I got it. And literally this Little Free Library, I just call favorite because it has just given me so many good books. And if I have, it's so well taken care of. And you can tell there are a lot of ARCs. So there's someone who receives ARCs and maybe a former librarian. You can just tell the love and care that this Little Free Library has. Now, anyone who stewards Little Free Libraries, I think, is amazing and does a great job. This one just particularly is my favorite, and it had The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Now, I have passed up this book more than once in both Thrift and Little Free Library because of its size. Is it a book that I'm interested in reading? For sure. Like, I'm well aware of the discourse around this book, and think that, in fact, I would really enjoy this book, and not just because of its Pulitzer. It's just, I don't see myself reading that many big books, and especially taking from Little Free Libraries. I'm like, how long is that book going to be on my shelf? So hopefully by hauling it, I've said to myself, get over yourself about big books and go ahead and read The Goldfinch this year. We shall see. Also from that Little Free Library, I found No More Boats by Felicity Castagna. I'm familiar with this book. I believe it has to do with the incident of a Norwegian ship finding refugees marooned or lost at sea, so saving them, and then trying to dock in Australia, and Australia not letting the ship in. I think this is like told through the lens of maybe a family saga, different points of view of the family. So certain folks who have very strong opinions, as issues of humanity are often politicized, because of course, if it was any of our own families, we wouldn't have differing opinions about if they should be allowed to survive or thrive. That being said, I think that it's a small novel, so I imagine it being quite curt and to the point. It was the 2018 finalist for the Miles Franklin Literary Award. I'm not familiar with that, but as this is an Australian book, I'm suspecting that's an Australian award. And it is a Europa edition. And so I do have a Europa edition shelf where this will sit, and hopefully not for that long. I did have a degree of enthusiasm about finding this book and wanting to read it sooner rather than later. Next, I have Candide by Voltaire. I don't think I will ever be able to read this font, but I don't despair because, of course, my library will have a copy of this that I can mostly use and then just note my place or follow along or hold this copy so that I have some contact with the physical, which is something that even if I read fully digital that I really like to do. I remember really liking Voltaire when I read it. I think it was AP Lit in high school, but Candide. I remember really liking Candide by Voltaire in that class, and I'm excited to reread it at this stage in my life. So I have been totally neglecting my classic shelf for a long time. I refused to even haul classics, and then I said, you know what, haul classics so that you'll read them. And so I've been hauling classics. My classic shelf has kind of grown and grown, and I'm still not reading them, but having it around makes it more likely to read. And I do suppose, kind of as a collector, having at least a smallish, it's not classics aren't here, they're in a very small shelf. Having a smallish shelf of even reference, because so much contemporary lit references the classics, I like to have it around even just to kind of pull up for a reference. So that was a lot to say about Candide, which is going on a classic shelf. Next, we have an ARC. This is by Tara Shelton Harris, and this is the story Where the Wildflowers Grow. I see this as a kind of domestic or family fiction taking place in the South, and it's coming out in February, and its font is very accessible for me, especially if I could go into not my only can be lit by artificial light basement apartment, but some beautiful coffee shop or somewhere where these sunshiny days could be taken advantage of. Sunshiny, albeit cold days, could be taken advantage of, and I could read this physical book as it's an ARC, and fulfill the 52 Book Club's Read a Book that was published in 2026 prompt. So other opportunities could arise, but for now, this book is already earmarked to be read for that reading challenge. The Cold Millions by Jess Walters. I was in a couple minds to hold this. I did read Beautiful Ruins. I liked it, didn't love it. I liked Jess Walters' writing style, but I didn't find it, of the many books I read, I'm not unhappy I didn't read it. I feel just fine about it, but it wasn't necessarily an author that I thought I want to read the next thing that this author comes out with. Recently, I was thinking about a friend who I thought would actually really like Beautiful Ruins. And so when I saw this book, I thought, let me haul that book and at least read part of it to see if this friend would like this author. And then I can give this book to that friend. Or it could be, this is not a very big commitment of a book. It could be, I just read it and really enjoy it. Okay, next we have The 10th Muse by Catherine Chung. It comes with a bookmark, which I really love, and this book is about a mathematician. And so I can see myself reading it and during, for instance, Women's History Month. I think it gives a bit of a historical fiction vibe. I'm not sure. I didn't look it up. I know the author herself, which I did read the author's bio on the back, comes from mathematics, so it could be just fully fictionalized, but I do really appreciate reading books about women in STEM or other fields where they have just been erased from the canon where they have always been. So this is called The 10th Muse by Catherine Chung. I think it's a somewhat recent book too. Let me see. 2019, so not that recent, but 6 years old. Okay. Anyway, last but not least from the Little Free Library is I have The Anomaly by Hervé Letellier, and interestingly enough, like The Brown Car, I had never heard about this author before or noticed books by this author anywhere, but I had just recently hauled Enough About Love by the same author. And by the way, the translator I think is the same for both books. It's Adriana Hunter. When I was in San Diego, so this is one of those 50-cent books. This one's free from a Little Free Library, and I think this one is like a Dear Edward kind of setting, set on a plane, a bunch of different lives coming together, and the flights from Charles de Gaulle to New York JFK, I think. So we have that kind of that setting and maybe scenario of whatever happens brings these lives together. I kind of imagine it like maybe going kind of like Dear Edward into like offshoots of the different characters' lives. I do like to think about that even when on the plane, like all of these people have lives and we're all together at this moment in time. In any case, I hauled this book, and it's like Voltaire, translated from the French. Speaking of translated books, this is my haul from the Friends of the Library, which is substantially smaller and how I hope to keep it for the rest of maybe even the year. I think I was really having a great time when I came back after summer reading, where I'd missed out on just hauling books and building this collection, etc. But it's really built up now, and so I still want to go and support the Friends of the Library. In fact, they're doing a display, which is books to film. So from my unhaul pile, I'd actually in December read quite a few books that had been made into film, because I was going to meet a friend who really liked film, and I wanted to be able to talk about the films, watch the films and compare the book to the film, so that we'd have the sort of that in common, me as an avid reader and that person as a cinephile. So I have a bag of books to donate to that display. When they told me they were doing that display, I got really excited. I didn't tell them that I had all of these books, because I couldn't really remember if I'd already unhauled them or not. I didn't unhaul that much in December. This Little Free Library haul was like my first big unhaul. So I plan to still go and get my 2 free books, because one can't help themselves, right? And then try to really limit what I get above and beyond that. Tying back the loop of French translation, this is also a book translated from the French. This is by Pascal Pujol, and the name of the book is Little Culinary Triumphs, and the translator is Alison Anderson. It's also a Europa edition, and it is an adorable book. Now, being very honest with you, I don't know when I'll get to reading this book. I feel like I thought about it more than I should have, but as I have a Europa edition shelf, I actually just haul Europa edition books now, and that makes sense in some universe, but I could also see people criticizing it. In any case, this feels like a cozy. I did look it up. It doesn't get very great reviews, but that being said, it's not uncommon for me to actually really like books that aren't well liked. For example, I just finished The Furrows. The Furrows didn't get great reviews, and I thought that it was not a memorable or even that compelling book, but I really liked Naomi Sopel's writing style. I thought her craft was pretty fantastic. I'll talk about that in the review video. I was just bringing that up to say, like, it's probably a similar kind of, I think I was looking on Goodreads and it was like low 3s, which is a pretty low rating on that platform. And also, who are these people and why do I care about what they think, to be honest? So it didn't get great reviews. Apparently there's too many characters and it's too messy about that, but sometimes I like that too. I don't know when I'll read this book. I want it on my Europa editions display for quite some time, and I'm sorry, book world, but it might just sit there for quite some time until I guess I need a cozy. It feels really cozy. The other book that I hauled was, and also thinking of curating book displays, is The Sufi Storyteller by Faiqua Mansab. I also was drawn to this book because of how it looks, and Beautyland, which is on display on the other side of this wall, is hitting my TBR. It's going to be read in the next few weeks, and also has a purple cover like Beautyland, and it's going to be the replacement display book. This book is also published in 2025, and I read about the author, and I read some of the synopsis, and then I did, once I got it home, read a little review, and this one does get good reviews. I'm excited for this book. I didn't just haul it for the display. It is a book that I would like to read as well. When we shall see. Katie Kitamura. I had a discussion about Katie Kitamura while at the Friends of the Library. I recently, I think it was in the month of December, maybe November, read Audition. I listened to a book review of it, and a booktuber said it's a good book to reread, and I think that's true. So I haven't unhauled it yet because a friend wants to borrow it. I want that friend to borrow it when they're actually ready to read it. It's not a big commitment, so that they can borrow it and I can track it enough to get it back, which I rarely do, so that I can reread it and then have a book discussion with that friend. If that friend really likes the book, I can then give the book to that friend. If not, it is a signed edition, and I think the Friends of the Library could sell it for more than they normally sell their books, so I'd like to give it to them. All of that was a long story about why I hauled this other Katie Kitamura book called Intimacies. I liked her as an author. I'm definitely someone who, after I finished Audition, said, for sure, if I find another book by her, I'll get it, especially in this case, for free. So there we have it. I also really, really loved the cover. Like, those three books were just like aesthetically, like, just feasting me my eyes on books. I sent a picture to a friend of these. I was like, here's what I got from the Friends of the Library, and they're like, look at all those beautiful books. Agreed. So they're all the other side display books for now, and that is where I'll end this video. Substantially less books than recent hauls, but still a lot of books. So I'm glad that I'm have a stack equally as big right here, that once I make the 52 book club, I think I'm going to do shorts, I can put in an unhaul pile and just feel good about this recycling situation that I discussed at the beginning of the video. Until next time.